In this version, we'll start seated. Now, some students might find it more comfortable to sit on a folded blanket so that the pelvis is slightly raised and tilted forwards. Other students might not want to do that, and that's fine. One shin in front of the other, or one ankle in front of the other. We'll start with a neck stretch. So the right ear can come in the direction of the right shoulder, letting the weight of the head stretch the side of the neck towards the shoulder head, asking them to breathe smoothly, noticing that stretch might be quite strong for a lot of people. And to intensify it, if they want to, they can take the hand up and over the right hand and gently place it on the face. And it's like an encouragement rather than a yanking down, but an encouragement. And to further intensify it, if they want to, they can reach the fingertips away with the fingertips off the floor. And it's like they're reaching for something that's just rolled away, like a Malteser sort of size. Has rolled away, and taking about 3 to 5 breaths. Bringing the hand back. Something that's nice to do here, especially with this style of class, is taking the hand to the cheek and cradling the head up. So you're encouraging that self-care here, that awareness of the body, hand down, and getting them to notice, what does this shoulder now feel like compared to this shoulder? And it might feel a bit dropped. And we'll go the other side, so the ear towards the shoulder. And this gentle flowing movement at the start is quite quick. We haven't got a lot of time, but it's just to get them into their bodies, a bit of stretching and movement. So you've got the option for the hand, you've got the option for the reach, and the fingertips are off the floor, so it's an active reach, as if something's just rolled away, a grape or something small, and they're reaching for it. A couple of breaths. And then taking the hand back, cradling the face up to center, and taking the hand down. And then hopefully they'll feel a bit more balanced after that. Changing the cross of the legs after that, because you'll have spoken to them for a little bit beforehand, and they've just done the neck stretch. So we change the cross of the legs, fingers back, change the cross. Oh, I'll show you this one from the side. We're going to do an extension flexion, but seated. So I'll turn to the side. You don't have to get the students to turn to the side. This is just so you can see my body. We'll get them to interlace the hands. Palms go forwards and up. And you slightly tip forwards onto the sit bones and raise the chest on the breath in. The breath out, the palms turn down, and there's a subtle flexion of the spine moving to the backs of the sit bones. Inhale, palms up, chest up, and exhale. Palms down and a flexion. So the extensions on the breath in and the flexions on the breath out. Take that maybe 5 times. And the last thing here, a side stretch. So the right hand can come across. Now the hand, get them to take the space. A lot of times people are like this. Get them to really go out to the side, a bend of the elbow, the head of the shoulder rolled back. This left arm lifts up. They can go deeper if they like. Get them to anchor down through the left sit bone. And they can spin the rib cage up. They could look up to ahead of them like this, to the front, or they could look down. About 5 breaths each side. We change, do the other side. Set the hand, roll the shoulder back. Could be lifting up. Could be into the side, deeper side bend, anchoring down through the right sit bone, looking up, forwards or down, and coming up. For the pranayama section, which is alternate nostril breath or nadi shodhana, get the class to sit up on a bolster, or if they prefer, they can be sat cross-legged on a folded towel. You can let them know that this is a very accessible breathwork technique. It helps to lower the heart rate and helps to reduce stress and anxiety, and it also helps to lessen congestion, as we tend to be more congested in one nostril. It is said to synchronize the 2 hemispheres of the brain, and purify the subtle energy channels of the body so that the prana, the energy, can move freely around the body. It also gives us an activity to focus on as we practice conscious breathing. It's meditative and it gives your mind a task and a focus. You don't have to say all of that, but it's an opportunity to let the class know that the exercise has lots of benefits, and if they haven't practiced it before, they just might need that explanation. You can let them know that we'll be doing it for a few minutes, but if it's not for them today and they don't really want to do it, that's absolutely fine. They can stop doing it, they can breathe naturally, they can sit, or they can lay down and rest. I will teach it how I would teach it to the class. Feel free to join in as a student if you want to feel into it, the pace. And we'll probably get through 8 to 10 rounds. That would be the ideal amount so that the class can get familiar with the movements and really get into it. So to begin with, the class is seated, placing the hands on the thighs, rolling the shoulders back, sitting tall. You might need to remind them to sit tall as they move through the practice. And when you're ready, closing the eyes if you're happy to. If not, you can down focus the eye line slightly forwards and downwards instead. Place the first 2 fingers of the right hand at the eyebrow center. You might even spend a few moments there, just giving yourself a little massage at the crease of the forehead here. And then pause with that movement. Now the right ring finger will hover next to the right nostril, and the right ring finger will hover next to the left nostril. Take a few breaths, natural breaths through both the nostrils. And just notice here if one side is more congested than the other. Sitting tall, spine is long. Feel the hips and the legs supported by the surface beneath. Lightly press the right nostril with the right thumb. Inhaling through the left nostril for 1, 2, 3, 4. Close the left, exhale through right. 2, 3, 4. Breathing in through the right. 3 and 4. Close, exhale through the left. 3 and 4. That's 1 round. Breathing in through the left. 3 and 4. Close, exhale through the right. 3, 4. Breathing in through the right. 3, 4. Close, exhale through the left. 3, 4. That's 2 rounds. Inhale through the left. 3, 4. Close, exhale through the right. 3 and 4. Breathing in through the right. 3, 4. Close, exhale through the left. 3, 4. That's 3 rounds. Inhale through the left. Close, exhale through the right. Sitting tall. Breathing in through the right. Close, exhale through the left. That's 4 rounds. Inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through right. Breathing in through the right. Close, exhale through the left. That's 5 rounds. Inhale through the left. Close, exhale through the right. Breathing in through the right. Close, exhale through the left. Inhale. Exhale. Breathing in. And breathing out. That's 7. Do 3 rounds in your own time. And no rush to finish. When you have finished, you can take the hand down, breathe through both nostrils for a few rounds of breath. And just notice here if the nostril that felt a bit more congested than the other, does it feel a little clearer? Are there any other effects from this breathwork practice that you notice? And after that, you can guide the class to softly blink the eyes open if they're closed. Remind them of where they are. You might guide them to notice the atmosphere of the pod, low lights, the sounds. They could have a little roll of the shoulders, maybe a little wriggle. And that is the end of the pranayama section. We'll now guide the students into Sleeping Tree, which is a hip opener and a restorative back bend. This is inspired by Supta Sukhasana. The bolster will go behind, and you can give the bottom of the bolster a little smush if you've got the beanbag style ones. And the blanket or the towel can be folded into a noodle shape, like so. And it goes at the bottom of the bolster. One of the bricks can be to the right, and the other brick, you could use it to raise the bolster a little bit higher. This will suit some students, and other students will prefer to have the bolster flatter, and that's fine. We'll put it under there for now. Another option is, if they did have it flat, they could have another towel or blanket as a pillow on this section of the bolster. You'll see images of this in the manual. For now, we'll do the raised up version. So I'll now tell Catherine to ease back, shuffle back so that your pelvis meets the rolled towel, and then lay back slowly onto the bolster when you're ready. And you can stretch the legs out to begin with. Nice. And this would be the moment to check in with the class. Does it feel comfortable? Are there any changes that need to be made? For example, does the block need to come away? Does Catherine want to move down a touch from the noodle of the towel? Any adjustments of the shoulders? And checking in, does that feel comfortable here? And it looks like it's all good. So, Sleeping Tree. So Vrikshasana has the same positioning with the legs, but we're reclined on the bolster. So if Catherine, if you'd like to bend your right knee now, place the sole of the foot to the floor exactly, and then open up the right knee to the side. And what I'll do here is I'll place the block there to support the bent knee side. And this just means we can hold the pose for longer without the student overstretching or feeling uncomfortable. So props are really important for this support. So we could even put the block on the higher level, And we could adjust the block if we feel like it needs to move, and the student has the agency to do this. They can do that for themselves if they need to, because you'll have, multiple people in the room. The right foot could go on the inside of the thigh, or it could go down to the shin. So I like to do it at the shin, but your students can choose whatever they want to do. Arms can be at the side, as you see Catherine's here, shoulders relaxed. So we see this lift of the front body and also the hip opener on the right side. And we'll be holding this 5 minutes each side. So this setup actually might be too intense for some people, and it might not feel comfortable. So there's another version that we can do whereby the noodle of the towel becomes a sort of bolster in that it'll lift the student up into a gentle version of the back bend. So if Catherine, if I get you to slowly come out of this by drawing the knee up and pressing down to come up, that's it. And the bolster would come away, brick would come away, and we'd move the noodle higher up the mat. And then Catherine, if I can get you to lay slowly back onto the towel or the blanket, if that's what you've got. And it should ideally come to the tips of the shoulder blades, meeting the tips of the shoulder blades, so that, as you can see here, Catherine's upper back is up and over, and the arms are free to be released here. And Catherine's choosing this cactus position, which is really accessible for most people. So you can see there's still an extension of the spine, but it's less intense. And what we might do with the legs, if people find it more comfortable, is they might have the legs long, or they can take the sleeping tree variation with the sole of the right foot and the knee coming to the block, like so. And they might hold this, but say if they were quite new to it and this was too intense having the hip opener, they might even, if they bring the knee back up towards the top of the pod, you can bend both knees now, Catherine, and take the feet to the wide edges of the mat and knock the knees together. They could rest here, perhaps. If they found that long hold of the hip opener was too much, they could come to this position earlier, rather than holding it for 5 minutes. So that's an option, say if the other bolster version's too much. But I think for Catherine, you're quite happy in the bolster position. So we'll return to that hold in a moment. Once the class have chosen their position and they are settled, you can start the timer for 5 minutes on the first side, and you'll be able to fill the time with some instructions and information about the pose. And also there'll be the opportunity to leave gaps of silence where you don't talk at all, where an opportunity can open up for the student to experience the atmosphere of the pod, the music, the pose itself, and the sensations within the pose. And this might be familiar territory for you as the teacher if you're already teaching nurturing flow, or if you teach yin or restorative classes. But for others of you, it might be quite different in its style of delivery, and leaving patches of time when you don't say much at all might potentially take a little bit of getting used to. But will be amazing for the students as it helps them to tune in to their experience. I'll set the timer today for 3 minutes rather than 5, so that you can get a sense of what I would say and the gaps that I leave in between. So on the first side, you can introduce the concept of doing less. So this introspective style of practice and the benefits of restorative yoga, you can introduce those to the class. When you settle the class into the pose, you can let them know how long they're going to be in each pose. Before you press start on your stopwatch, you can say something like, "We'll be 5 minutes with the right knee bent, everyone," or something like that. So start to notice the breath as you settle here in sleeping tree. Notice the movement of breath through the nose and the natural ebb and flow of the breath coming in and out. And as you start to feel more relaxed, it will help to slow down the nervous system, which is essential to our well-being and balance. Releasing tension here with gentle stretching, supported by the props. Your mind can move towards sensation and spaciousness. So this class is less about doing and more about being here in the moment and feeling into it. A lot of time we're so busy and we're darting about doing this and that. So how does it feel to slow down? So that is roughly 3 minutes. So you have an idea there of the gaps of time. So you introduce a little bit of information and then you let that settle. Ask a question, let it settle. So that the class gets used to being in this frame of mind that is tuning in. And that works. That works for you as the teacher, works for them, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. So after the 5 minutes are up on the first side, there can be a slow change where, Catherine, if you'd like to draw your knee so it points up and just have a moment with the sole of the foot flat, and then when you're ready you can stretch that right leg onto the floor. And just spend a few moments there with the legs long. And then from here, we would guide them to the other side. And the student will need to take their block to the other side. I can do it for Catherine today. So you can bend the knee on the left and then take it over to the other side. On the second side, you can introduce the science of the pose. So what is happening whilst leaving pauses in time in between. We can tell them that it is a hip opener, and that the hip of the bent knee is externally rotating. The back bend helps release and relax the diaphragm, encouraging easeful breathing. And this pose helps to release tension in areas of the pelvic floor, the solar plexus, the rib cage, shoulders and neck, which all support relaxation. The support of the bolster gently extends the midsection of the spine, opening the chest, creating more space for the heart and lungs, helping respiration, assisting breathing. So you've spread that information out over the 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes is up, on the second side, Catherine can slowly start to draw that knee upright, lengthen the leg forwards for a moment. And from here, so this is the part that you have to talk them through a little bit if they're not used to it. But Catherine, if you'd like to bend your knees and bring your feet flat to the floor and raise the right arm back and start to roll slowly towards the entrance of the pod off the bolster, using the left arm to support you as you get down. So Catherine's beautifully rolled off there. Some people won't be so used to it and they might kind of fall off dramatically, but you can encourage them to use the arms to kind of break the fall, as it were. So here we are, rolled off the bolster. Now remind the students here that they have their props set up behind them, and that as they roll to lay flat on their back, they can use their back and their left arm to sort of push everything out the way so they can lie flat. So Catherine can start to do that now. She's pushing away her bolster, moving her brick, and then laying on the mat and taking away the towel and lying flat for about a minute as a neutralizer after that back bend and hip opener. This is two poses together, Pavanmuktasana, wind relieving pose, into a reclined twist with a bolster, or Supta Matsi Andrasana. This restorative section starts with Pavanmuktasana and then moves into the reclined twist with a bolster, supporting the bent knee side leg. This can be a 3 to 5 minute hold each side. You can place a folded towel beneath the head and shoulder that is opposite to the bent knee side for any student that needs it. I'll show you that in a little bit. So we need to check that the bolster is in the right place before we move into this. So from Catherine's lying down position, if the bolster was to her right, so say the students, their bolsters are to the right, we would have to ask them to bring it over to the left. So this is already to the left, which is good because the right knee is going to come over to the left. Now start, Catherine, by drawing the right knee in towards the tummy when you're ready. Interlace the hands on the shin and coming into Pavanmuktasana for maybe 3 to 5 breaths. Drawing the right knee towards the right shoulder and feel the thigh moving in towards the belly. And the left foot flexed with the heel of the left foot dragging forward slightly on the mat. And the shoulders level. So we can take a few breaths here. And then moving into the twist from here. So similar to what you might have taught in Hotpod Flow, but we've got the bolster here to support the leg. So if you draw the knee over now towards me, and the bolster is here ready for the leg. If you bump the hips a bit more into the middle, stack the hips here, and just make sure that the knee, the shin, the ankle, and the foot are all supported by the bolster. The right arm and the left arm can then go wide, either like a scarecrow or cactus elbows, whatever the student feels is more comfortable. Now, Catherine's very comfortable here, but there might be students that need that support with the towel. So we would fold the towel. Say if Catherine had her shoulder lifted like this, we would just offer a bit of support here for the shoulder and the arm, or we might even bring it under the head as well. So we could take it under here and perhaps lay it down for Catherine there. And for students with tightness in the shoulders, that might be more comfortable. The eye line can go up or it can go towards the opposite side to where the knee is pointing. Another thing that can be really helpful is, say if a student's knee is raised up because they've got tightness in the hips and their knee doesn't meet the bolster, you can take a brick and say if the foot is down on the bolster but the knee is raised, we just need to raise the top of the bolster by placing the brick underneath, and then hopefully the knee can meet the bolster. You'll find that on the first side, you might spend some more time checking in that everyone is comfortable. So like I just did then, you might go around and offer some support for the head and shoulder. You might offer some support for the bent knee side with the props that are available to the class. After the time is up on the first side, the 3 to 5 minutes or so, I'll ask Catherine to slowly come back to center. So drawing the knee back to the middle, bringing the body back, the hips more level, and the foot can be flat to the floor for a sec, drawing the hips back towards the middle and then straightening that leg out in front. I'll then ask Catherine to take the bolster to the other side, ready for the left knee side. So Catherine, if you'd like to grab the bolster and maneuver it over to the right, ready for the other side. And we'll start with Pavamuktasana on the other side. So you'd get the students to draw the left knee in, a few breaths on this side, 3 to 5 breaths, and then setting up for the twist on the other side. And the student will know now what is happening, where the bolster should be. So stacking the hips, the knee, the shin, and the foot on the bolster, and just making sure that they have supported that lower leg, that they have the support for their shoulder if they need to, and the head. As they're moving through this second side of the twist, you might add in a bit of scientific information. So you can tell them that Pavamuktasana massages the internal organs and supports digestion and enhances blood circulation in the hips, and that this supported twist opens up the rib area and broadens and opens the front of the body, allowing for deeper breath into the lungs at the front and the top, and externally rotates and stretches the shoulder that's opposite to the bent knee side. So a twist can be invigorating, supporting fresh blood flow to various tissues, and it's also calming as it helps the body to let go of patterns of holding and tension. And the bolster is supportive here for the hips, helps to keep the alignment. And after the 3 to 5 minutes, you would ask the students to draw their knee back to center. They can have a moment just readjusting the hips to the middle with the foot flat, and then straightening the leg down towards the floor. And they might just, if the arms have been here for quite some time, they might like to bring the arms to the sides of the body or even hands to belly for a few moments, just observing the ebb and flow of the breath. This is a restorative shoulder stand, Viparita Karani, and we'll use the bolster. We'll start from a lying down position. They might be here or they might be here. And we'll get the students to press against the floor to raise the hips, almost like a bridge, sliding the bolster underneath. And what's really important for this one is that the bolster's in the right position. So the back of the pelvis, the sacrum area is on the bolster, but a bit of the buttock flesh is sort of coming off the other side. What you see a lot of the time in classes is people putting the bolster too much this way, and they end up like this, which is not the aim of the pose. So we get them to place the bolster in that right position. It should feel comfortable so that they can raise the legs up and they've got the bolster in the right place. And even now I'm like, right, I need to move it slightly back. So they can change if they need to. They can bring the feet down as many times as they like. Arms can be wide, and they're here for 2 to 3 minutes. So the students are in position. Some people will have straight legs, and other people will find this hard on the hamstrings, and they'll need to have a bit of a bend in the knees, and that's fine. Arms can be wide horizontally, or they can have a bend, a cactus in the elbows, or the arms can even be overhead, wrapping the elbows. They can change position with the arms as much as they like. There is some effort in the legs in this pose. I think sometimes people assume that it'll be effortless, but if you let them know that they are using the muscles in the abdomen, slightly here, and the legs to hold the shape, and it's a relatively short hold, then you've managed their expectations with that. If this pose doesn't feel right for people for whatever reason, you can offer them a supported bridge, Setu Bandha Shavasana. Now, the bolster can stay exactly where it is, but what I would offer Catherine here, say if it wasn't working for her for whatever reason, is feet coming down towards the mat. So the feet could be to the wide edges and the knees knocking together, but if that didn't feel comfortable with the knees together like this, we would offer the student an option of a strap, and they can basically arrange this. It could be in a loop, and they could pull it tight enough so that instead of having an effort of drawing the knees together, the knees could be slightly apart and the legs could sort of let go into the strap for ease as an option. So scientific points of interest for this pose. This pose assists venous return and lymphatic drainage as the legs are lifted. And this means that the muscles of the body are being delivered the oxygen that they need, and it helps to release waste and toxins from the body's tissues. It takes vertical weight off the spine and creates space in the upper half of the abdomen. opens the chest and helps with breathing. Releases tension in the neck and just feels good to change it up, legs are up for a change here. So the interesting things here about Setu Bandha Shavasana is that anatomically speaking, we're opening up the front of the chest, opening up the upper body. This pose takes vertical weight off the spine and is restful for the heart, as the blood doesn't have to pump against gravity. And if the student was using a strap, it supports the legs, so it's less effortful. So after the 3 minutes are up, if the students are in, most of them will be in this Viparita Karana, you can get them to take the feet back down to the floor, have a moment here in this supported bridge, and then pressing the feet down into the mat, raise the hips slightly away from the bolster and sliding the bolster down under the knees, ready for Yoga Nidra. Yes, perfect. So it's there, it's not far to go, and it's there ready for the practice of Yoga Nidra. Setting up the class for Yoga Nidra can be in this lying down position with the bolster under the knees and the folded towel under the head. However, some students prefer a side lying position to rest in Yoga Nidra, which Catherine actually does prefer. So what we'll do is just show you that before we begin. So Catherine, if you'd like to bend your knees and bring your feet to the bolster, and you can just roll that bolster to the bottom of the mat and roll towards the entrance of the pod, and I'll move this bolster for you to the side. So here, Catherine can arrange herself on her side, and the bolster can either be between both the thighs, or the right leg can be long and the legs can be more in line with the shoulders, and just one leg can be supported. So whatever you feel most comfortable with there, Catherine, that's it. And the right arm can be tucked away, or it could be lengthened with the hand towards the entrance of the pod, if that feels good. So you're sort of reaching, that's it. But it's up to you. We're only here for 15 minutes for this version, so this, it's a shorter version that we're about to do. And there's always the option for the student to change and move and wriggle if they need to. I will teach this next section as though those of you watching at home are also students practicing the Yoga Nidra. And if you like, you can lie down, you can get warm and comfortable and relax into it and feel how it feels to be the student. So Catherine's got a layer on here. We would encourage the students to wear an extra layer. Even though the pod is gently heated, it still might feel a little bit colder if they're lying still for a significant amount of time. And they can also put socks on as well. There could be a blanket on top of the body, whatever the student would like. So this is the 15-minute Nidra inspired by the Himalayan rotation. And we'll now move into the practice of Yoga Nidra, which is a form of rest, also known as yoga sleep. Settle yourself into your chosen position when you are ready. Yoga Nidra helps to reduce mental and physical tension that can build up naturally as we navigate the stresses of modern day life. The effects that can occur from practicing this type of deep relaxation are having a clearer mind, enhanced memory recall, more effective digestion, enhanced concentration, and elevated mood. Hopefully, as you move through the rest of your day after this practice of Yoga Nidra, you'll feel refreshed and reset, mentally and physically. I will guide you through a relaxation, and think of this as a practice of gentle awareness, the practice of doing less and listening to the sound of my voice, if you wish, as you rest. Please make sure that the body is as comfortable as possible. Adjust props so that you feel very supported. Change position if you like at any point. And feel free to make any movements that you like during the practice of Yoga Nidra. You could yawn, sigh, flutter the lips, All noises are welcome. All of you is welcome, exactly as you are in this moment. This practice is intended to be effortless. You might find yourself drifting in and out of wakefulness, and that is okay. You might find yourself asleep, or the person next to you might be asleep, and that is okay. Think of it as an effortless practice of being, and let my voice be your guide. Settle the body into its most comfortable place and notice the floor of the pod, the mat holding the body, the ground beneath. Perhaps take another yawn, sigh, or flutter of the lips. Noticing the taste of the saliva inside the mouth. And relax the root of the tongue as best as you can. Become aware of the props and how they're placed against the body, and how they are supporting the position of the body. Take a moment to remember where you are and to observe the warmth that surrounds the body. Perhaps noticing, even with the eyes closed, the low lighting of the pod. Noticing the air around the face, and if it has a temperature. Notice if the breath coming in and out of the nose has a texture, a quality. Notice how it feels as it moves in and as it moves out. Take a few more moments here to notice the sensations of the breath as it comes in and as it goes out. I will now guide you through a rotation of consciousness. Think of this as following a light around the body. This golden light can start at the eyebrow center. This golden light moves from the eyebrow center to the throat, the right shoulder, right elbow, right wrist, right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger. That light moving to the right wrist once more, the right elbow, the right shoulder, and back to the throat. This golden light moves to the left shoulder, inside left elbow, left wrist, left thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger on the left hand. The light moving back to the left wrist, left elbow, left shoulder, and the throat. This light moves down to the center of the chest, on the left side of the chest, back to the center of the chest, and the right side of the chest, back to the center of the chest, and this light moving down to the navel and the pubic bone, across to the right hip, the right knee, the right ankle, the big toe on the right foot, second toe, third toe, fourth, and fifth. This light of attention moving back to the right ankle, the right knee, the right hip, and the pubic bone. Over to the left hip, down to the left knee, the left ankle, the left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. This light moving back to the left ankle, left knee, left hip, and pubic bone. To the navel, to the chest, the throat, and the eyebrow center. This golden light of awareness, like little lights glistening at the different points of the body. Taking a few moments here to notice the rise and fall of the breath. The inhale, there might be a lift of the belly, and the exhale, the space falls and there's a softening. Inhale, expansion, and exhale, softening. And starting to notice here the sensation of the floor beneath, the support of the floor, and the feeling of the ground beneath. And noticing the atmosphere above the body, the air above the body, the atmosphere of the pod above the body. Imagining here in your mind, if you like, seeing the body resting, imagining that you're looking at yourself from above, like a bird's eye view, looking at the body and seeing the shape of the rested body from above. And what would it look like if you were looking at the body from underneath? So imagining that you were roots of the tree and you were underneath in the earth, looking up to see the body resting. What would the back of the body look like here, as though you're looking from beneath? And also imagining from the sides, seeing the body from the right side and the left side. Then taking a moment to reflect, remembering what you might have been doing before class, where there was more activity, and notice the difference, how it feels to do much less, how the stillness feels compared to that activity. Taking a little bit more time here to rest in that stillness. Taking some time now to slowly draw the awareness back to the present moment. Notice the sensations of the resting body here in the pod. Notice the texture of the mat beneath and the props that are supporting the body. Notice the sensations of the clothes against the skin. And becoming more attuned to the air around the skin of the face, and the hands and the feet, any part of the body that is exposed. And you might once again become aware of the dimly lit hues of pink and purple without even opening the eyes. There might be an awareness of those lights, the soft lighting. Noticing the breath, bringing the awareness of the breath, moving steadily in and out of the nose. Becoming more aware of the body and where you are over the next couple of minutes as the practice of Yoga Nidra slowly comes to a close. And breathing now with an invitation to lengthen the breath. And as you inhale, imagine the breath traveling all the way to the edges of the body. And on the exhale, the breath returns to center. It's almost like the inhale is traveling all the way to the extremities of the body, the tips of the fingers, the toes, and the top of the head. And the exhale, the breath patiently moves back to center. And take that a few more times, that notion of edges to center in your own time. As though you're breathing into the whole of the body, becoming aware of the whole of the body, and bringing a few little subtle movements now into fingers and toes. A few subtle movements into fingers and toes. And you might like to roll the head slowly side to side. You could yawn or stretch the arms over the head. No rush. Keep it really slow and steady. That's it. And if the students, most of them might be lying like this, I would ask Catherine to bring the feet slowly to the bolster and roll it down to the bottom of the mat. And then Catherine, you can roll towards the entrance of the pod into a side-lying position when you're ready. And just lay there on your side, no rush. Lay there on your side, breathing into the side, the back of the body. Before coming up to seats, to a seated pose, cross legs or kneeling, and keep the eyes closed if that feels good. Just to take a few more moments, keeping the awareness inwards, and asking the class to take a few moments here at the end of the Yoga Nidra practice, comfortably sitting, cross legs or kneeling, and to notice the surface beneath, the floor of the pod, the mat holding the body. Noticing what the pod sounds like. Noticing what the body feels like as it's sat upright after the practice. Maybe tuning back in with the senses. Perhaps there's a awareness of the saliva in the mouth once more. An awareness of how the muscles are feeling holding up the body. The movement of the breath through the nose. And as you sit here for a few moments, come back to the question of how does it feel to do less? What happened to the body and mind as they moved into the different stages of relaxation? Noticing the effects of this slower practice. Noticing what arose in those different moments. Could this practice of awareness be something that you can take off the mat with you? Empowering certain decisions that you might make today, tomorrow, or at some point. Could being slower help to not only regulate our systems and help us sleep, but also allow space in our minds for balance and ease, helping us to feel more connected to ourselves and our purpose? Or perhaps you leave the mat today knowing that you had an hour where you didn't have to do or think about the other stuff, but that you could relax and simply be, that you could look after yourself. It might be as simple as that. So as the students are coming back into the space, they've blinked the eyes open, suggest to them that they might like to eat or drink a little something, because it just helps to bring the senses back in to the body after resting for so long. A piece of chocolate is really helpful. A piece of dark chocolate really works a treat. The stimulation of the senses will help to bring the body and the mind back into that wakeful feeling, especially if the students have a journey home that they need to make, or they need to go back into their everyday activities. And say to them something along the lines of, don't be surprised if in this moment you feel a bit sleepy. During the afternoon, it should feel like you return to your tasks feeling fresh, rested, and clear-headed. You'll notice that I inform the class of the benefits of Yoga Nidra and how they might feel afterwards. This might be a really unfamiliar style of practice for a lot of people. And at the beginning and the end of the Yoga Nidra, you can manage their expectations by letting them know the benefits of the practice, and that the purpose is not to render them useless and groggy for the rest of the afternoon, but in fact to refresh them and help them to be more productive and clear-headed in the activities that follow the class.